Hello and welcome back to the ULCS, where our final game of the week is about to get into picks and bans. It's between Fnatic and ROCCAT. How about that, Stress? We had a series.
You just had to say.
Yes.
You had to say it. We do.
I got one finally.
I'm just happy we have a tie right now.
Yeah.
Like you
I know you love ties.
I have a tie. We have a tie. It's all great. ROCCAT right now picked the blue side. So
surprise,
the same
surprise.
thing. 3 games in a row. It was ROCCAT's choice for games 1 and 3. Game 1, they made a fatal mistake with Camille being left open. Game 2 actually looked a lot better from them. I prefer their draft. They kind of had good lanes for the most part. I like the Varus Karma lane. I like the Ryze lane. I like the Mao lane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it really worked out for them. There were still a few mistakes that got punished by Fnatic, but they gave little to them after that. And now here we are into game number 3, picks and bans, and it's the Malzahar ban once again for ROCCAT.
So it'll be Mal's, Mal's, Zyra, and then either Syndra or Shen if we're repeating the last games. Fnatic will do the standard red side, Camille, LeBlanc, Rengar bans. Nothing out of the ordinary now. Will ROCCAT look at the Shen again? I like that ban. Yep, there we go. Varus first pick coming out from ROCCAT. If it's not banned by Fnatic, it'll be the same again. It was
huge for Yarnan last time around, and Fnatic actually gave over the Kha'Zix. They picked up the Ivern for themselves on first rotation. We'll see if it happens again. The Varus is now locked, as expected.
So, Fnatic, I don't think will pick Corki this rotation. Ivern, they can take. I think it's worked very well for them. They can also now look maybe at the Ryze if they want to take it away.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Give it to Caps.
Means ROCCAT now look for that Karma to go alongside Varus. They aren't rushing for their jungler right now, at least in previous drafts.
Well, it's going to be the Kha'Zix though this time. I mean, I guess if you want to hide other things or avoid it being banned away, they take the Corki for Betsy. Interesting.
I think they're fairly concerned it will go over. Now 80 carry has quickly been locked in by Fnatic, otherwise it would have been pinched by the Ashe. So we're into support bans for both teams potentially here. It's also top lane that we're looking for. Shen has already been banned, so we're looking at Maokai bans, Poppy bans. The likes, that we've seen a couple of times here. Jace
has been available,
is still available and could be banned.
Oh, they banned the Thresh against Wadid. Okay, so
will it be a Soraka ban?
That is a big question because Jez has had one great ad. It answered yes.
So now Maokai.
Not going to talk about it anymore.
Maokai maybe, with Jace being fairly high priority. Soaz has played Nautilus as well. Quite a few tanks under his belt. Maybe if Faxi is scared of the Alawi from Soaz, we might see that ban, but I'm not actually expecting that.
Alawi, a few picks the other week, didn't do quite so well. Now, the Jace is taken away. So last ban over to ROCCAT. Do they choose another support? It is the Lulu. So that's done, and now it's back over to Fnatic's side, and they're going to snatch themselves the Karma.
Yeah, taking the next highest priority support. So Tahm Kench now forwarded if he's looking that way. Bard is another option. He has currently played quite a few champions. Played a game on Bard, a game on Misfortune, but that wouldn't fit in here.
Maokai is the one they end up blocking. Makes a lot of sense. Foxy having quite a bit of success on that, and they've actually gone all the way down. If they lock this into the Nami, still considering it, they have time on the board. They want to pair that, give the sustain to Varus. And they do.
They do. They want to give the sustain a little bit of a touch extra poke, but against the Karma, really hard to outpoke her as a support. Nautilus, if they want the same matchup as before. If they want more damage, you could very well see the Rumble come out, but I think Fnatic will stick with what kind of almost worked for them in the last game. Soaz's Nautilus was pretty on point. The hooks were good against Widid, catching him out, punishing some of the mispositioning that ROCCAT had in the mid game.
Oh, but they mixed it up. And it's the Gnar.
Okay, we're going side lane presence instead of just a Nautilus as a big tank. We're going for somebody that can facilitate both roles. Gnar had a good few nerfs on him over a long stretch of time after he was very highly tuned. So it took a lot of the potency away. Will obviously have good laning phase, good trading against the Maokai, and have good side lane control later on into the game. It's been a while since we've seen Gnar here in Europe. Fnatic looking to control the side lanes, bring themselves back in. Just wondering what Soaz is going to be able to get done on this Gnar.
Absolutely. So it's a bold decision by Fnatic to put some more pressure into those side lanes. I mean, they have some scaling potential. They have the Ivern combo that they've been pretty much opting for consistently and giving up the Kha'Zix for it. They have a solid bottom lane this time around. The Jhin and Karma has a lot of push, and they've got the Rise that they stole away. So ROCCAT, we'll see if they're able to take it to them here. They have some power for themselves, but between the Corki and the Varus, a lot of it's in that poke. Let's see what's going to happen here. If you guys think ROCCAT can take their first victory of the split in a series, you guys know what to do. Go over to Twitter, tweet that, ROC win at Lil Esports. And Fnatic, they got fired back on, but they didn't make it easy for ROCCAT, and they might be able to take them down here, and that would look good for them heading into cross-group play. We'll find out what happens as we hit Summoner's Rift for the final time in Week 3 here in Europe.
Game on. Not a lot of people would have thought, perhaps, coming into the split, that it would be Fnatic and ROCCAT tied in our last part of the group stage, or the first round robin, at least. But that is where we find ourselves. ROCCAT had a decent early game in the last game, stumbled in the mid game, but kind of crushed the Fnatic base at the end of the game. So here we are, 1-1, ROCCAT versus Fnatic.
All right, let's keep an eye on this top lane this time around, because this is the curveball that Fnatic pulled out. The Gnar that we haven't seen in Europe in spring yet.
Yeah, haven't seen it too much, but will still maintain some of the strengths that Gnar had before. Lane bully, ranged auto attacker while in mini Gnar. Has to play around Mega Gnar fairly comprehensively though. Once that expires, obviously it has a lot less potency in team fights. Fnatic, fairly common strat, just pushing down through bot lane, making sure you can secure as much control over that duo lane at the beginning. And we've seen this a good few times as well. Early warding onto Ivan's Red allows you to track his jungle pathing fairly quickly. Of course, he has to start off by tagging a load of camps and going back through, and has a lot of different variants on which starts he can actually have.
All right. It is looking, though, to be a fairly standard start, even though the Ivern is spotted, of course. Both junglers starting up on the top side of their maps. Very advanced position taken by Reckless and Jezus, and that is very true, Ivern. You got to be careful. You don't want to drop these games going into cross-group play.
So Fnatic know, obviously, that it was spotted. There were pings out on the ward. So Amazing is going to start tagging camps red side, which means he's going to end up back at red side, on that top side, at around about that 3-minute mark. That's when it has evolved to the point where he can just click it, tag it, take it away. Gonna hop over to blue buff, take that one, go back through Wolves after Gromp, and work his way back up through the jungle.
It's a very formulaic jungle pathing for Iverns.
Yep.
And Maxlor, sensing that he might have a chance to go counter jungling right now. Let's see if Amazing moves there up in time.
And now is to do with the minute pathing details. They just spotted Maxlor going in. So as long as Amazing can get there, he doesn't actually have a smite available, so can't quite get it instantly, but obviously it should have got to a point where he can just tag it.
Okay, he's going to have to take the Blastcone Express, I think. Here we go.
Yep.
Hops over, has to give the red buff away, and then gets smited down by Amazing, or rather taken by Amazing.
That's all Amazing needed, was just that moment of open play around it. If Maxlor is contesting, it's a little bit more difficult, but that's why Maxlor had to jump out. Knew that Amazing was close enough, couldn't do anything else. Now Amazing looking from that brush.
Instant Valk away.
Yeah, trying to get his presence known, because he knows Maxlor's only level 2. Yeah. Maxlor hasn't been to his red buff yet, so is just trying to get further and further ahead on this one, now heading towards the top lane. Mega Gnar is about to expire.
Amazing knows there's nothing in this jungle right now. Sent the Scryer's Bloom through.
So he knows Maxlor is heading bot side is the key factor here. He can move around wherever he wants to on the lane. Amazing now heading up top. Actually looking like he might be about to sneak into lane if he wants to, but the fact that Maokai's pushed so far up means there's no lane gank available.
There's a lot of damage traded mid. Betsy a little low on mana, so is Caps, but he has enough left in the tank to do some more. So as pushing Faxi here under tower, this is what a Gnar can do.
Yeah, and Gnar was pulled out of lane a little just to defend for Amazing against Maxlor. You can see Amazing now tracking back down through his jungle after smiting those Krugs, getting it instantly. But top lane, maybe a little bit more active than the top lanes we've seen recently.
Caps had a lot of trouble last game, but this time he gets the rise. Betsy is put onto the Corki, so we'll see how this matchup actually shifts a little bit. As Betsy had backed away, he picks up a control ward on that back. Amazing's going to take the blast cone over the wall. Yarden taking a lot of poke damage from Reckless and Jez. They're having a much easier time of it. And he's going to come around the river side. Oh boy, Yarden and Wadid don't know this is happening right now. And suddenly, out of the bridge that he made, they find Yarden and they stop him under his tower, but they can't finish the job. Amazing took a lot of return fire for that. The piercing arrow nearly had him too.
Yeah, Amazing with an unorthodox entry into the lane, flashing to explode that trigger seed. Normally you just open with the Q and see if you can get there, but
maybe Amazing still needs a bit more practice on the Ivern. He's had a few games of it, but you need more.
That's an ambitious one. We saw a flash trigger seed for a kill yesterday, but to start a gank off, I'm not exactly convinced that that's how level 4 Ivern should do it.
Yeah, I mean, you did get some summoners.
Yeah, you did. Just looked funny.
It did look, well, I mean, everything Ivern does looks funny. Let's be real.
That is very true.
But back to the mid lane, it has been a very even affair. It should be a little quieter when you have a safer pick like the Corki. Amazing continuing to get some vision out.
And I want to see how Caps can survive through against this Corki. We saw the reverse matchup in the previous game, and you saw the stat earlier, 4 isolated deaths in the game. Actually tied the most with Vizichachi and Hachani.
Oh.
The two ends of the scale.
I would not put those guys in the same category, but apparently for that particular one it is.
That is the truth. So the three of them all traded. Caps maybe looking isolated again here.
Yeah, Maxlor's there. This time, though, Caps has his flash and exhaust both available. Betsy's going to Valk for it. Meanwhile, down bottom, we got action again. As Yarden taking a little bit low, and Amazing's come to return to the scene of the crime. But Reckless might be going down. What is on him? Oh, the trigger seed saves his life. No first blood.
Candy shield just in time.
But Maxlor.
Oh, Maxlor's hunting.
Oh, boy. Oh, he flashes, and there he goes. Finishing off the kill.
Maxlor knew he couldn't quite close the distance without the flash, but very worthwhile. Reckless had no summoners, no possibility of getting out of that. And Soaz had just TP'd back to lane. Now he wants to trade against Faxi.
In the Mega Gnar, he can definitely do it for now. Level 6 on both top laners, but Soaz used his in Mega form, of course. Faxi didn't want to trade too far back, and he's able to tank up most. Content to be pushed under tower as he's matching the farm for the most part. Yeah. Got tense for a moment there.
Yeah, it did. So Soaz had his TP available here, but was actually backing from the lane just to try and get the advantage. This is where the exchange happened, so there was no real way of Soaz getting deep into this fight unless he went to a minion. At this point, Reckless looked like he was able to trade into Hyanan well enough. Whew. Just in time before that last little auto hit. Maxlor.
I got this, guys.
How many hops, skips, and jumps? Even Rift Scuttler's a little bit afraid there. Scurrying along. Reckless falls to Maxlor. It's a good start. Maxlor's last 2 games have actually been pretty good.
Yeah. He's had this Kha'Zix, has been able to do some work on it. And for Reckless, unfortunately, just couldn't quite get away. It looked like Fnatic might have had some miscommunication. Amazing kind of hesitating, and then he eventually commits, but only in time to give Reckless the shield.
Yeah, just in time. Back up to top lane, though, looking at Soaz. Has gone that Phage route. I wonder whether we'll see the old Black Cleaver Frozen Mallet build that we saw Nas build. Had a lot of potency over in the side lane, just kind of whittling people down, just keep auto-attacking them, applying the slow. Very difficult to get away from Na. It is a onesie party up there, though. Dino Na going up against Meowkai, so a lot of fun, comfy fighting up in the top lane, apparently.
That is another way to call the wet noodle fight for sure, but it has a bit more teeth when you've got Gnar on the Fnatic side of the map. But just
one's like a possessed tree, the other's
I mean, that's not usually what I would call cuddly, but I guess, Gnar can be. There's the curtain call being opened up onto Yarden. He stopped with the tether, and in comes Amazing and Daisy. Daisy's bubbled up, and Maxlor's coming in. Yarden going incredibly low, and the curtain call is just not done yet. Amazing is going to be able to finish the job. Wadid and Maxlor are in some trouble right now, and they've stopped Maxlor, caught him up. A double kill for the Ivern.
Ivern comes into bottom lane. It didn't even matter that the bubble hit the cupcake. It was just enough to close the gap. Amazing's not done here yet. Wadid is still backing away, though. We've seen supports fall prey to that in the bottom lane. Again, Faxi gets traded on. Good dodge out, though, by the Twisted Advance. Yeah,
nice timing on that one. Soaz is going to go mini once again, and Faxi's going to have to be pushing things back under tower right now. No teleport still available for him. He wouldn't have been able to react to that, especially with Soaz breathing down his neck. But let's take a look at the fight once again. It all started when Reckless opened the curtains.
Yeah, opens them up, hits Hyanan a couple of times, but it looks to block at the same time. Bit of a wet mixture in this cupcake mix, but still enough to be lethal as Amazing comes in with Daisy. Jez's and Reckless there to help him clean up, and Ivan, what do you know, takes 2 kills, finishes off Redemption.
Yeah, I don't know if it's totally fair that Amazing got one of those kills. Daisy did the work.
Yeah, you know.
Just happens sometimes, but that's a fairly fast Redemption right there. Maxlor is going to look to equalize.
Hey, that's the difficulty you have with the AI on Daisy. Sometimes it gets all the kills, sometimes it's just flailing around. Who knows?
You never know. All right, so Dragon, despite it being Mountain, obviously, with a little bit of action in the bottom lane, haven't really seen it finished off just yet. And you can see Maxlor actually had to pop out of the pit because Amazing and Jez's were hanging around. What did Yarnin? Pushed out again. On the bottom side, Amazing's returning. Again. Man, he is camping this lane.
The 3rd or 4th time.
There's no vision in this push.
Yarnin, and we need to stop pushing up. Here comes Daisy again.
Exhaust on. I think I've seen this one before. I'm having deja vu right now. The wave comes in, but it might be time for Yarnin to wave goodbye. 1 shot of the curtain. 2, it's going to be blocked by Faxi as he teleported in. So as his fallout. He's actually going to back right here. Maxlor is joining the party, and Jez is going to run right into his face. Maxlor picks up 1. ROCCAT managed to salvage something out of this after all.
ROCCAT somehow keep Yarnin alive. The conga line, almost as if they're trying to avoid a T-Rex. Everybody just stood still, and there was no real way of getting through that one. Fnatic brought Soaz down to the bottom side as well. It's only really the 1 kill as Jez is face checked into Maxlor, but you can see Fnatic have been trying to just push back, trying to punish ROCCAT for every time they push up in the lane.
Yeah, and for all those efforts, they may have gotten some kills, blown some summoners, but they haven't been able to get that much damage on the bottom turret. And no one's been able to secure this Mountain Drake.
And neither have ROCCAT with the damage on the tower either. Normally with Varus, with you know, any kind of lane that can shove out, typically that's the lane that's getting the tower damage. But Jhin and Karma push fairly quickly as well. The amount of poke, the punishing from Amazing as well. Oh, Soaz jumps in.
Okay, Yarnin's a little bit low right now. Jez is Soaz, Reckless, all there to try and push this, but they're going to have to back away. Maxlor threatening.
Betsy has the package.
Everyone wants to be in the bot lane.
Yeah, Betsy was roaming around towards the bot side with the package.
Caps is coming in.
A tense moment here.
I don't think Faxi got the memo.
The old switcheroo. Betsy returns to the mid lane with the package. Yeah, and this is Caps coming down now. No ultimate. We'll see. Don't really know whether ROCCAT have tracked that one, but still close enough to the bot lane to push the tower.
Yep. Brought enough members, called the bluff, and Fnatic are able to take the first tower of the game up in the top. Faxi is quickly trying to push back, but he is just 1 Meowkai.
Yeah, he's done a good job, actually, of the tower push game.
Considering he's up against Dinar, I mean, so has to spend some time out of lane, but this is going to be good for them if they can finish this off. Another wave is coming. He should get it.
Yeah, should just about get it. Will with 1 more auto attack. Pick the tower up. Maxlor saw this earlier. Mountain Drake is a little tougher to take down.
There's a lot of danger pings right now.
The thing is, Mountain Drake doesn't deal as much damage as some of the other Drakes.
Just harder to kill.
He's harder to kill, so Maxwell's actually a lot healthier.
Yeah. No one's going that intercept. Amazing is up in the top side right now. So for ROCCAT, that actually looks pretty good. Let's take a look at this again with Amazing coming down at the start of this party. Another
attempt to punish here as Jez's flashes onto Hyanan to try and get the chains down, but Hyanan just had a few too many heals coming through from Wadid.
He almost died so many times, though.
Good block by Wadid. Everybody stand still. Quick. Got him. And Maxlor face checks, or Jez's face checks into Maxlor as he was trying to ward. Ironically, trying to ward to make sure Maxlor wasn't coming down, or Betsy.
That is what I tell my AD carries when I do that and die. But back into this game. Betsy pushing Amazing back with the ROCCAT. The fight has shifted a little bit more into the ROCCAT jungle here. 13 minutes into this game. The gold is very close. Fnatic got the first tower blood, but with the kills, it's fairly equal. However, Caps and Amazing are looking to change that in mid lane.
It's a good little push, utilizing that Ivan brush just to give Ivan the added damage, the added range on his auto, so you can not have to be right next to it.
16 solo dragons for Kha'Zix. Fun fact.
That's, you know, it's a fun fact. Kha'Zix is able to, and there's a lot of junglers actually right now that can still do it. But
he is the Dragon Slayer.
Fair.
Got nothing, it's okay.
Is Rengar like a dragon then in mythology?
I don't know, we're going too far with this one. Speaking of too far, Soaz might have pushed a little too deep there. He's still gonna toss a brick house at Faxi, and now Daisy and Amazing are coming back up. Foxy's a little low. He's got himself a flash. Maxlore is on his tail, and he's going to hop right in. Blast cones.
Gets himself out. Amazing with a little position change. Goes from looking to blast his way into the lane to blasting his way back out. Redemption used just so they can try and push this tower, but obviously Redemption's not the longest of cooldowns.
It's not much of a wave either.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Maokai is fairly effective at pushing back that wave like that, but again, Amazing will have that back up by the time it's really important again.
All right. About 50 minutes. You know it's that time. Time to check in with the items. Betsy just got himself a finished Trinity Force. Caps is still trying to build up himself to the Rod of Ages, has that tier stacking up and available. Yarnan has not been able to finish an item just yet either. And Soaz up top side does have that Black Cleaver, and he's using it to try and push in, but Foxy's still pushing him back right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's going alongside that Black Cleaver. We spoke about Frozen Mallet earlier. Want to know if there's any lethality coming through? Anything else on top of this?
It is trendy lately.
It is. It's the fashion for anybody that auto-attacks.
Fortunately, Soaz is part of that.
I still think Frozen Mallet's probably going to find its way in.
There
were a couple of nerfs to itemization on it, and to Gnar in general.
Oh, why it's a bit of a surprise seeing Gnar, but I mean, Fnatic, they have been the ones throwing the curveball in the draft. We saw in game #1 that Camille that ended up going mid. They were allowed to take, but still worked out well for them. Yarnan's caught, and the damage is on, but he flashes as the exhaust was there. Wadid's going to have to tank up. No more curtain call available for Reckless. Just can't find the kill, and there's not much of a wave left, but they might just try to do it anyways, and Maxlore finds himself caught as well. He's going to have to go out.
They're tanking with Daisy for a moment, but doesn't end up playing ball on that one. So as trading again with Faxi top lane.
But he's in tower range, and even though there's a big Gnar ultimate there, Faxi still gets the better of him, and he's actually chasing on.
He's
Twisted in advance. He's got flash. He might have to use it. He does. Faxi, he's trying to bait this one out. The 1v1. Soaz with the boomerang.
Boomerang catches it. Soaz flashed away from what looked like almost certain death, as did Faxi. Managed to widen the gap, but you can see that
was close.
Soaz, while holding 1,500 gold, wasn't quite able to do anything. Oh, no. Max.
Goodbye!
Maxlore is feasting on the scraps of Fnatic when Fnatic somewhat succeed and then stick around a moment or two too long.
Soaz, you just got to back away, man. Oh, boy. And, considering that 1v1 and how crazy and close it was, it's just funny to highlight how much experience gap there is between these two players, right? Like, Soaz is like a name that you go back to the earliest days of the LCS, the old Fnatic and everything, and he sometimes still makes these mistakes.
Well, I mean, yeah. He, first of all, gets the 1v1, which I think we should give him a little praise for.
Yeah, it was a sick flash.
He was under tower, got a little bit of damage down, Soaz takes a trade, knows he's got Mini Gnar coming up soon. So he's able to utilize the hyper passive fairly effectively. Watch for the flash. Oh, got him.
And then Foxy.
Yeah, knows he just has to outpace the little sapling, the little kitten.
And all looked well until
Maxlore was so far back in the lane. Okay, yeah, that is kind of fair. Soaz could have recalled out after this, but got greedy to get the tower down.
Ta-da!
Yeah, okay. Great, good like 1v1. And then Soaz is like,
Yep, that happened. But the good news is Fnatic did manage to knock down the turret. They've got 3-1 right now. So the gold lead is in their favor, but it has been a very close game. ROCCAT have been keeping pace with them well. Maxlore's all three kills. So they can definitely look to try and snowball on this Kha'Zix.
Yeah, they can. Maybe won't get quite such an early kill, an easy kill on Soaz again. Soaz will have healed up a little bit after that, and maybe wouldn't have lost so much health. Gotten the MR route after, so it won't help him against Kha'Zix, but at least against Faxi, he can maybe end that fight healthier.
Yeah. I mean, you got to really also give credit to Foxy, even though that was a super close 1v1, just overall this series, he really has done his job as he's needed to, and this is a guy who came into the LCS as a very untested talent. I mean, this is his 10th competitive game ever.
And he's looked fairly good. I mean, we've seen more worrying entries. Not to pick on him, but Parang didn't have the best start for ROCCAT last split. And I feel like Faxi's done better than Parang did when Parang settled. So maybe there's building blocks to go from there.
Yeah, I think so.
ROCCAT.
I mean, there's definitely a way up. I mean, this series, if nothing, is an encouraging thing for them, which is hard to find when you are a team that has not been able to find a win in series Fnatic are not going to make this easy, though, but if ROCCAT can pick up a win, they can breathe a big sigh of relief heading into cross-group play.
Yeah, they could breathe a sigh of relief, but at the same time, it's going to be one of those ones where it's also disappointment goes with it. Dropping the game to ROCCAT. This was the series where Fnatic would have loved to have said, okay, we are better than Giants. It was a one-game kind of fluke. Now they've kind of done the same performance so far against ROCCAT, where they've looked shaky in a game, just like Giants did. Honestly, Fnatic, they are yet to really attain those kind of highs where you can say they're definitively out of this mix at the bottom of their group.
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot of question marks for this Fnatic squad. There's always a lot of scrutiny on any players that, you know, wear the Fnatic jersey. It's a long-standing organization with a big history of success. There's always a chip on the shoulders.
And one of the biggest stories of the split was Soaz returning to Fnatic. As you mentioned, long-standing member not only in the EU LCS, but up until his time on Origin on Fnatic. So there's a lot of expectation on the veteran top laner. And after a shaky first couple of weeks, he settled himself. We'll see if he can get a TP into this fight if he wants it, but ROCCAT have backed away at the same time. Soaz has stopped with some of his shenanigans.
There's no other way to describe that. I do want to highlight that ROCCAT right now are doing what they did in game number 2. And that's what won them the game. Even though they made a few mistakes, they stepped a little out of position. You can see now they're respecting the closing distance possible.
Fnatic want to go.
There was a flash there from Betsy, and in comes Daisy onto
Meganar. He's jumped in.
Big Meganar. They make him surf the wave, but he comes in anyways onto a did, and they've managed to finish him off. Maxlor was already out of that fight, and now Betsy is going nowhere, but not before he equalizes onto Caps. It is going to be a big fight in Fnatic's favor, and Soaz still going forward. Reckless with the flash. Soaz gets Faxi. It's a 4-for-1. Fnatic.
Fnatic utilizing the Meganar, getting the engage they were looking for between Jezis and Soaz, getting him into the fight, disrupting 3 members, and ROCCAT couldn't really hold. So Fnatic, they're going to utilize the strength now against the Baron. They can TP in with Soaz. Maxlor not even alive here. So unless Hyanan can get something magical done, I don't think there's any way of stopping this.
Well, Jezis is low, but he's playing it safe right now and just backing off before they finish. ROCCAT are not offering a response. They want to cut their losses here. So Fnatic, it'll be a slow and arduous Baron at only 22 minutes, but they will be able to secure it up without any resistance from ROCCAT. Jezis is actually hanging around just in case.
And Hyanan was trying to push out mid because they were trying to finish this play. ROCCAT stepped forward into the mix. Soaz had already built up his Meganar bar, jumps in off Maxlor's head and catches the 2 of them. Good curtain call out from Reckless. You can see just how safe he is for the majority of this fight. Betsy actually gets a kill that he probably shouldn't have on Caps. That should have been Caps being fairly safe.
Too.
Yeah, nearly does, but Fnatic with a good setup on the fight, good finish to the fight. ROCCAT didn't really get too much.
Yeah, a lot of it was Soaz on the front. He just hopped right over. And, you know, I was saying it looked like ROCCAT were respecting that distance, but there was a big Meganar, or rather a mega-sized Nar that was coming right at them that I don't think they'd really planned for, and they got locked up under it.
Yeah, they got locked up, pushed into the wall. Nothing really else they could do in that moment. And I mean, Soaz, he's brought out the Gnar, haven't seen it in Europe for quite some time, and it's actually looking really strong. He's looking very good up in that top lane role. He's in the bottom lane currently looking to push through. Of course, this side lane presence is one thing Gnar has in leaps and bounds when he's in mini Gnar.
ROCCAT support staff looking on, hoping for their team to find a way out of this group with a victory. It's looking harder and harder for them. Fnatic having the turret advantage, having the push advantage with the Baron empowered minions right now, but they are not overcommitting.
Faxi's waiting for the TP, seeing if they can get it. There are a couple of wards there, and Fnatic are split here. Soaz is not building his Meganar bar yet, but Maxlor's come down to the bottom side as well, so it's not mid lane that ROCCAT are looking for a fight on. Soaz will build that bar back up fairly quickly, though, now that it's available again. And Fnatic look to push.
Should be able to get it. Caps is still there. No, they're going to back away right now. It's gone very low, but there's no more resistance down bottom. So isn't amazing are throwing boomerangs from the bush.
ROCCAT holding for a moment. Slowly but surely, though, Fnatic will push in for mid and that bot tower. Soaz is actually recalling, but doesn't have TP.
Oh, Spire Shield. Throws the house. Daisy's coming in. Maxlor turns onto Amazing right now. There's a Realm Warp coming in around the backside, though. The tower is taken out by Reckless, and he opens the curtains. Caps comes in. They look for Maxlor, and they find him. One shot of the curtain call, and Yarnan is going to dodge the next, but it doesn't even matter as Fnatic look to open up this base.
Fnatic looking to continue the push. They're going to get the inhibitor towers. A lot of this.
And Foxy's
dead.
He's gone. Nowhere to go right now as he's locked up, and it's going to be another inhibitor without Maxlor and Foxy. Fnatic are going to get this inhib easy.
With Gnar and the AD carries, this Rise, everything can push towers fairly quickly here for Fnatic. You can see where Soaz is going ultimately with his build, but we'll see where he was going for this fight. We thought he was recalling at first. He had channeled it, but cancelled. Comes down to the bottom lane in Mini Gnar. Takes a lot of health off Maxlor between Reckless and the rest of the squad. Maxlor just kind of crumbles down. And then it's all about the tower push. Redemption comes through, heals them back up. Fnatic look to push again.
Yeah, I wonder how much would have changed if Woodid had actually hit his ultimate onto Reckless. It kind of spaced right by him, and then as he opened up the curtain call. I don't know, maybe not much, but Fnatic have definitely widened this game in their favor. They've pushed in, they have the power to fight, and there's that frozen mallet you were talking about.
Yeah, and it makes it incredibly difficult if it wasn't difficult enough for Foxy to maintain any kind of presence in the lane. Now you've got a Mini Gnar that is able to just kind of auto-attack you down, and after 4 or 5 auto-attacks, you've lost most of your health.
Speaking of.
Fairly squishy, though, if he gets caught by the damage from Yarnan.
Yep, he's almost got Mega Gnar available. Maxlor is stepping forward to clear out the Jhin Trap, gets hit by the Boomerang, and now it is going to be a game of Siege for Fnatic, looking to push back out here as Betsy takes the special delivery right into Soaz's face. Just almost gets popped.
Yeah, Soaz doesn't punish him on that. Flash!
Oh! All right, come back, try again later.
Yeah, Soaz
takes a swipe.
A little baited by Betsy maybe at that point.
Yeah,
I was
some
thinking,
misses.
like, if they're close enough, that either the ult flash ult, did not hit.
Betsy nearly delivered himself right into Fnatic, but not quite far enough. So we are 26.5 minutes into this game. ROCCAT very much on the back foot, down about 8,000 gold, trying to hang on, trying to keep their hopes of winning a series in their group alive.
Bot lane's pushing in, though, for Fnatic, as Soaz is back up topside. Foxy has Betsy with him. It's going to be a change to Mega Gnar soon.
Oh, he's almost there, but he's going to Valk over just in time for Soaz to wallop him into the ground, but it doesn't matter. They get the shutdown, but they're losing mid tower here. The wave comes out, but it is their tower that has to wave goodbye. Fnatic trade Soaz life for an inhibitor turret in mid.
Yeah, Soaz out on his own without flash. Wasn't expecting both Betsy. Here comes the TP from Foxy coming through.
Throw down the captive audience. Amazing is topped up by Maxlor, but he's got Betsy at his back to tank the damage for just a second. Reckless, Caps, they're looking to push back Foxy. Betsy, he's going to force the flash out of Amazing. Fnatic are disengaging well.
That is probably the most taunting champion, as everything is pushing in through mid lane. Amazing distracted 4 members of ROCCAT, pulls them down as he had a flash. That's a Nexus tower that is actually down, so Fnatic trying to just chase ROCCAT, delay any kind of recall attempts.
There's the Realm Warp. Caps is going to take it into 3 right now. But the curtain call was open. Redemption came down. Caps takes out Betsy. So at the end of the day, it was well worth it. And now Foxy's locked up by 3. Not for long will he be alive as Soaz takes out one. Woodid and Yarnan trying to push away, but the minions have done their job, and it is bare Nexus right now. Fnatic on top of it. They fire back. They're going to take this one. ROCCAT, it was a chance for them, but it just was not enough. Fnatic will finish this 2-1. Heading into cross-group play. GG, boys. That's it. Not the cleanest series we've seen out of Fnatic. A lot to answer still. But they pulled out the victory, and that's what matters.
Yeah, they pull out the victory, still kind of relying a lot on a somewhat risky drop. But this time they bring a winning lane, they bring the Gnar to the game. They know they can push in the Maokai. Saw that presence time and time again.
And the Ivern really paid off some big dividends. Amazing adapting here, shifting his attention to some newer picks in the meta, working out for them. And for ROCCAT, well, nobody wants to lose to a giant cupcake. But unfortunately for them, they will end this first phase of group play without a series victory.
Yeah, without a series victory on the board, a couple of game wins, but
some encouragement. I mean, this is not a team that is getting crushed every single time.
No.
They are fighting back.
They are fighting back. And honestly, for ROCCAT, I think ROCCAT Origin is going to be a fairly interesting series. If Origin, that's kind of their contenders that they'll be looking at. But for Fnatic, a couple of improvements between the games this week. The Ivern coming out, as you were alluding to, I actually think is a big pick now for them. I'd be a little worried if Fnatic get that in some of the cross-group games. But I like what Fnatic are trying to do. They're one of the teams that are bringing a little bit different style to the gameplay, but it's not always as successful.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think that you talk about teams trying to adapt to each other. Speaking of Origin, you know, kind of 5 guys coming together trying to make it happen. It hasn't worked out yet. But for Fnatic on their side, I mean, they've brought some new members together as well. Jez seems to be meshing well with the team. Reckless, the old cornerstone, is there. And of course, Soaz coming back. There is a little bit already in the way of synergy, but there are still some lingering issues. We'll see if they're able to plug those holes, but I think Fnatic can be happy that they were able to pull out the victory, even if it took them 3 games.
Yes, yeah. Fnatic fans can breathe a sigh of relief on that series. I think there's a moment after game 2 where it's a little scary.
Yeah,
if you're thinking.
I mean, ROCCAT played that very clean, and Fnatic did everything they could to try and punish them. You know, I think the draft may be some question marks as well, but honestly, ROCCAT are showing a lot of heart to try and continually fight back and never give a game away, and it was honestly hard fought to the last.
ROCCAT have at least got some building blocks that you can see. It's ROCCAT's issues aren't unfixable. There's still areas of the game where they still are looking fairly strong. So we are only in week 3, the end of week 3. So there's still
we're not riding it out just yet. The results are still got a while.
Yeah, until those playoff spots lock. But next time the group meets itself, they have to beat Giants. They have to beat Origin in a couple of weeks. Maybe the likes of a Vitality or a Splice who have looked more vulnerable over in the other group. Those are the teams you've got to beat if you want to be in that playoff race.
There's definitely some possibilities there, and it is still very, very early in the split. But man, we have had some great action over 3 weeks. It is really encouraging to see a lot of those stories, and you know, Fnatic definitely building themselves back up once again after last year. You know, fairly disappointing run for them. So we'll see, you know, how things change overall. Now, for more on that victory, Quick Shot standing by with Soaz.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, congratulations, Soaz. Hard-fought victory in the end. Game 3. Much cleaner, much more convincing. So I'm going to start on the tough question. What on earth happened in game 2?
Well, basically we have two carries that are supposed to deal damage, and Caps got behind early on. So it was really hard to, because we can only team fight. We cannot play 1-3-1. We cannot do anything besides team fighting, right? So since Caps was behind and got his build delayed, then it was really hard to possibly team fight. And that was the main issue.
What is part of the thought process that allows Fnatic or lets you go, we're going to pick a team fighting comp that can only team fight? Was it because of your enemies or was it because of the meta?
I think it's more about the meta right now. I think UL is playing this style very well, and most teams are not necessarily playing the same style, but are adapting a bit towards this style, at least in Europe. We felt like we played a lot of UL in scrims, and we felt like this style was pretty strong. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely didn't work out, unfortunately, in game 2. I'm going to ask another question about some of the Fnatic thought process. Camille, you leave it open in game 1, you pick it up in that rotation, and then it goes mid lane. What's some of the thinking here, Camille mid?
Well, we are pretty flexible with Camille. Caps really like the champion, and from what I've seen, Camille mid is really good against most heroes. There's only, I think, one that is good against it, but against most of the meta champions right now, Camille mid is pretty good. And as you can see, he can roam from level 4 or something and just dive bot. So if you have any pressure top or bot, he can just straight come and dive because he's really mobile, and he can just E in the jungle and stuff.
Yeah, really exciting to watch. It worked phenomenally in game 1. I want to ask some personal questions now. It was great to see you play the Gnar. I really enjoyed watching your Ilaoi a little while ago. But why are you playing so many tanks? Is this a team decision?
Well, I think we struggle a bit at playing 1-3-1 as a team. So I think the team feel more comfortable if I play a tank, if if I group with them more than if I'm
How
splitting.
does Soaz feel? Are you okay with Tex at the moment? I know there's the meme, but you know I really enjoy watching you play your carry champions, and it's great to see you on like a Gnar where you can outplay.
I think I'm pretty flexible. Like I think I can play tank very well, and I can play split pushers fine too. It just depends about like what the team needs more than anything.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, team play at the end of the day. Fnatic, it's been a slow start in the spring split, so just one or two more questions about expectations. You know, there was a lot of hype. Soaz returning to Fnatic, bringing Amazing with him. Caps, you know, all the jokes around Baby Faker and whatnot at the beginning of the split. But you guys seem to be struggling on stage. Can you tell me why?
I think we had like a rough week of practice, and it's mostly like I think it's G2. It came down to like more team comp, for example, and I believe like we had like a rough week, and for especially this week we didn't adapt too well in terms of the actual meta. So we had like different mindset, and we couldn't translate what we got in scrims. For example, you know, when we play Zed or Katarina, you can imagine it's much different in scrims than on stage, right? So we kind of have to like change this mindset a bit and play more, practice more like how it is on stage.
All right, so hopefully the practice does change. Looking forward now, you touched a little earlier about how Unicorns of Love have been one of your scrim partners. Looking forward to some of these matchups against UOL, against H2K, against Splice. Who's going to be the most difficult opponent of the lot?
I think UOL is really strong right now.
UOL is really strong. That's it, simple? All right, well, I look forward to it. So much congratulations on the win. We're going to head over to post-game lobby. Dracos, take it away.
Welcome everyone to the post-game lobby, where I'm joined by Crepo, Vitality's Cabo Shard, and Fnatic's Reckless. And we're going to wrap up the week so far and take a little bit of a look back at the spring split. So first off, welcome Reckless.
Thank you very much.
Coming in after a win. Now, the first series we want to focus on is your series versus ROCCAT to kind of wrap up the week. And we talked a lot about it, but we wanted to get your perspective overall. How did you feel the series went?
I think obviously this series went a lot better than our series against Misfits, but since we only really had one day, as Soa said, since we weren't fully prepared going into the Misfits game to prepare for this game, I don't think we had still the full grasp of how we wanted to draft, and we had some questionable decisions, especially in the second game. But I think all in all, we figured it out pretty well, and I think we went away with a well-deserved win.
Yeah, I think earned it overall in the end, and it was good to see. Curious, Camille coming into the mid lane, is that something that you guys had planned for, or is this something that you kind of prepared on the fly?
I think Caps is a player that plays pretty much everything, so when we got the opportunity to play Camille, we were kind of aware that they would most likely go Shen into it. So we already decided beforehand that if that was the case, we would put it mid instead and try to get a better match up top. And I think these kind of things is what we didn't necessarily do against Misfits or generally in the beginning of the split. So if we can continue with those draft priorities, I think we will have a much better time playing out the game.
Would you not say that if you run two physical damage dealers in an Iron tank comp and you have a lane on bot that actually lose, that you maybe even lost the draft game one? Because I feel like you had a really strong trade, level one that game, but if they play it half decent, I feel like you get pushed in.
I think Varus is just too OP, so it didn't really matter game one, but I think game two and game three were much closer in that regard. So since we were giving away the Varus, as soon as we did any draft mistakes, it would cost us the game. So I think draft 3 was okay, but draft 2 wasn't that good.
Did see some adjustments to the draft, a lot of early priority on the Ivern, and conveniently, Amazing has now won player of the series for that Ivern performance, so it looks like while we were skeptical, it does knit him a player of the series overall. And I want your impressions of Amazing. We kind of talked about him. Struggled a lot in the last week, feels like it's coming together this week. Is he still feeling like everything's going well with the team?
I think Amazing is one of the most hardworking players, actually. He always strives to improve, and even though he doesn't always do it in the best way, I think he always has like a good meaning behind it. So he's actually one of the teammates I've enjoyed working with the most, because I feel like we're just improving at such a rate that I didn't expect beforehand. So even though like we didn't pick up Ivern for the Misfits game, just the fact that he was able to do so yesterday and bring it up today and play 3 games in a row was really a showcase of how he actually is as a player.
Yeah, solid adaptation. Of course, the other series that we want to take a look back on is Vitality versus H2K. Cabo, we've been criticizing everyone else today. Now I think it's your turn in the hot seat. Talk to me about this series. Give me your overall thoughts.
Yeah, I guess like first game it was just we have good comp, we played correctly, I suppose. We've just played the map, and when they go for the kills, we go for the tower. So even though we are pretty far behind in kills, we are.
This was a
much
risky
ahead in
fight to
gold.
take, though. You guys could have easily lost this one.
Yeah, but we played wrong, but we end up winning it, so who cares, right? And yeah, the two other games, like game 2, we have losing bot lane, and yeah, once again, when you lose bot tower, it snowballs the map just so much easier. Then it was pretty hard. And game 3, I guess they went for the Ivan Varus comp, which like we see more and more. Like, you know, you have winning bot lane, and if you send Ivan 3v3 bot, you're gonna always win because you just poke, and then you have shield and Daisy, so you're gonna get the tower once again. And yeah, I guess that's it.
I mean, it was solid to see the first win, of course. Didn't really work out in the end. We saw this hyper-aggressive engagement. Unfortunately, met misfortune. Just got to sit in the back line and dish out all that damage. You got your hands on Camille top. We saw Fnatic take it mid. Do you still feel like this is a pick that needs to be banned very early in the draft phase, one of those mandatory red side bans?
It's still a very strong pick here. Obviously, like it has some flaws, like any pick, and I think people are more and more letting it open in scrims, for example, and like we can see that either you can play the Shen or Poppy and just try to play on the other side of the map, lose a bit on the lane, but then you're Shen and you're gonna be fine in teamfight, or play some split push like we saw in other regions, like I don't know, we saw Darius in China or Fiora in Korea or something. So that can work too as well, but it's more risky.
Do you think we'll see more of those counter picks sort of come out, more Camille left open in the future as we've now seen it mid and top lane, or is no one really going to realistically take the risk at this point?
I think people can take the risk, yeah, but once again, Camille, we saw her on 4 rows, right? And like that's as well like something you take into account when you draft against it, that at any moment they can just flex it and you have to ban it on the first rotation, or like let's say they try to ban 2 things and then it's so OP on this role because you ban the 2 counters. So we saw it mid, we saw it top, we saw it jungle, and even support in NA.
Yeah. At this point in the season, you guys both obviously aspirations for being at the top of the table, but as we look at the first round robin, as it's closed out, when we bring up the standings, we can see you guys both kind of at the middle right now, and I want to talk about expectations for yourself early in the split. Cabo, we heard earlier that you felt like you'd rather be losing early and coming into playoffs where it matters.
I'd rather be winning early and after, but if I have to choose one or the other, I prefer winning at the end, yeah.
Yeah, and Reckless,
hopefully you peak, though.
We will.
Reckless, is it kind of the same situation over on Fnatic? Are you guys hoping to ramp up over time here as you're currently sitting at 3rd place in the group?
I mean, we're definitely looking at the long-term goal here of making it far into the playoffs. But at the same time, I think pretty much every series we've played so far has been a really good learning experience. So it's quite draining mentally to go through them because they're always coming with like a different lesson. But I feel like with this roster, we have like a lot of matureness and we're able to go through them in the right way. So I feel like even though we're perhaps not having our draft in order yet, I feel like we're just improving week by week, so we'll get there for sure.
All right, well, next week, Group A will face Group A and Group B will face each other for the first time, so that's going to be interesting to see. But we're going to look ahead at the 2nd round robin and our first look at the cross-group play. So if you're joining us in client, hit us up at youtube.com/lolesports for the full-length post-game lobby. All right, now we're into the full-length post-game lobby. It's just that easy. So let's talk a little bit about cross-group play. We'll start with you, Reckless. We heard Soaz say that Unicorns Love kind of the big contender in Group B. Is that a sentiment that you share? And if so, like what makes them such a big threat right now?
I think, first of all, it's obviously something I share. We've been scrimming them a lot, and I think actually scrims is their biggest strength because they are one of the few teams that are able to translate their scrim performance to stage. I think most of the teams right now, if not almost all of the other teams, are struggling a lot with playing out scrims or stage performance same way as scrims. Meanwhile, Unicorns are just doing their thing in scrims and doing their thing on stage, and there's no one really putting any stop to it.
Because that was, without pointing any names, but last year there was a lot of teams that were reluctant to scrim the Unicorns because they were quote-unquote fiesta games where they went too far forward, too snowbally. But it seems they're bringing that style to LCS where they have zero hesitation, they just go in. Is it now, are more teams striving to scrim against the Unicorns now?
I think scrimming Unicorns is a really unique thing because you are able to practice so much fighting in general. But at the same time, it's, as I said before, like really mentally draining playing against them or just playing longer series in general. And I think it takes a lot of time to get used to playing against Unicorns.
Because you usually get sucked into the chaos, right?
Yeah.
Like once you start fighting mid over and over and over,
Yeah.
how hard is it to practice strategy when you play against the Unicorns?
I actually think Unicorns have a lot of strategy in mind. I don't feel like they're taking as many random fights as they did before. I think they're always playing at the right side of the map, and they're always having like an objective in mind, even though there's a lot of fights on the way there. So, if anything, I feel like scrimming them is actually giving you a lot, and it's just a matter of like keeping it up mentally and getting through the scrims.
But their main style, or just the meta right now, seems to be very kind of end up in a team fight. There's very few 1-3-1, and if there is, it's not executed that strongly. Cabochard, what's your take on 1-3-1 in the current meta?
I mean, it can work. We saw today maybe in the game, the second game against Fnatic, when Rice could have gone there. Like there is some compositions that sometimes that you can just go freely on the side and know you have the advantage with champions like Rice or something. And
is Europe good enough to 1-3-1 right now, or are teams struggling too much?
Yeah, Europe is good enough. Like maybe not the best, but the more you play, the more you're gonna train, obviously, and be better at it. So if you keep it team fighting in 2 months, you're not gonna be better at 1-3-1. So.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when we look at 1-3-1, obviously, like Ryze is the first champion that stands out to me, of course, known for independent kind of side lane split pushing. What other mid lane champions are we going to see that are going to be effective in this role? We saw, Fnatic try Zed, we saw Vitality try Zed. How many champions are really available? Because Corki seems to be very popular, but it's not really one of those champions we equate to the 1-3-1 style. Is there enough in the meta where teams can consistently look for a 1-3-1 option against team fighting comps?
I don't think it's actually that much about the mid lane pick. I think it's much more about the top lane pick. So, for example, on red side, you almost always have the opportunity to go for a counter pick in the likes of Fiora or these kind of champions that no one is really playing, but I think are okay. Like, you just, as Cabochard said, like, teams are good enough to play it, but it's also really risky. So, I think it's definitely something that will come out more and more, because once, you don't get the Ivern or you don't get the Varus or the Corki, or you have no real, matchup to fight them. So you have to go with another approach to the game, and that's usually 1-3-1. So I don't think it's necessarily about the mid laner, because I think a Corki can go side lane, a Syndra can go side lane, a Ryze can go side lane, as long as she has the vision or he has the vision. So it's much more about the top lane pick and kind of just drafting for it, I guess.
That's interesting that you bring that up, because I feel like we've seen inconsistency in drafting in EU when it comes to roles. I feel like Fnatic, a team we consider to have pretty solid drafts 1 week, next team not as good. We've seen the same thing for Vitality, and actually pretty consistently across a lot of our teams. And Krepo, I want your impression. Are we seeing a lot of bad drafts from EU? Are people experimenting? What's your opinion overall?
I mean, I don't have insight in the scrim culture, but a lot of games I see, I think what's happening a lot in Europe right now is that bad drafts don't get punished. Because in my opinion, Fnatic game 1 is it's just not a good draft, because you have a matchup bot lane that should, on theory, just get pushed in. You have a mid lane that gets pushed in. You have a top lane that gets pushed in. And then Ivern should just not be able to jungle whatsoever. And there's countless examples of that. So I have a hard time evaluating whether I'm just wrong and dumb, or people getting away with murder, or if this is an acceptable margin of error. But I do think we need more consistency in drafting overall. And I feel like teams are catching up. When teams are so drastically switching over, when Misfits bring out the Ivern comp and now everybody seems to want to play it, I think there's definitely room for improvement still.
Curious where that's going to take us in the coming weeks. We talked a little bit about counter options to the Camille being left open. Ivern now appears to be rising in popularity. We've heard Graves come out as a counter pick as well. How lethal is the Ivern right now? How much of a priority should he be in pick and ban?
I mean, I think one of the reasons why he's so strong is that when you know you have the pushing bot lane and you send this jungler bot, as I said, you're going to win every 3v3, and once again, the bot tower is going to snowball you the whole map pretty much. So many teams play it that way, and the flows it gets pretty much is the level 3 and level 4, you're not going to win 2v2s, you can get invaded, this kind of stuff. But I guess people, when they play Kha'Zix, they just try to farm for the level 6 something, and they don't abuse maybe the weaknesses in the opposite side, and Ivern ends up playing for his strengths, and you lose bot tower.
Reckless.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ivern is really strong right now, and I think Varus is really strong right now as well. So if it's not already happening enough, with people opening Camille or opening LeBlanc, I don't think Rengar should be open, but I think the other two are okay.
Trade any champion except Rengar?
Yeah, every champion except Rengar. But either way, it feels like more and more people are going to look towards this, because right now, if you're blue side and you just ban out the Ivern and take the Varus, I don't feel like there's too much counterplay. So I think it's going to be much more of a trend, trading perhaps an OP for Ivern Varus, or Ivern for Varus and OP. So I think this is something that will happen a lot more for the future.
Now, as we kind of get closer to cross-group play, both groups have pretty stylistically different teams. I'd say at the top, we see G2 be one of the few teams to successfully kind of execute a 1-3-1, what we saw from Echo yesterday or earlier in the week. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm curious, as you guys move into cross-group play, of course, Cabo, you'll be playing Group A, Reckless, you'll be moving over to play against Group B. Is there any team that you're really interested in playing against stylistically that you think you guys match up well against or not so well against?
Personally, I would like to play HK because Fabian is in HK, but I think they're really good right now, so it's going to be definitely a tough game. I think we're actually playing them before the IM Katowice week, so there shouldn't be too many weeks until then. But other than that, I think it's hard to tell. Like if Group B is stronger than Group A, I think there's some teams that are good and some teams that are not so good. But as we've seen already, like many things change over the week. Like one team can go from being one of the best looking to one of the worst looking in a matter of weeks. So I think it's
There's still hope, Cabo.
yeah,
We're gonna get there.
same for us.
You can't just put him on blast like that. He doesn't even play a game day. You're like, all right, Cabo, don't worry. Well, Cabo, let's turn to you as well. I mean, which team are you most curious to play in the opposite group?
I mean, we're gonna take every game as it comes, and just I guess since we're not already like we make a lot of mistakes, like we get outdoor players and things. Like we have to focus on us getting better. So I think playing the best opponent like G2 seems really good, and even Misfit. And we're gonna just play them and like focus on the mistake and keep getting better. There is not really someone that I have in mind that we want to play or.
I imagine scrim culture right now is teams in A scrim teams from Group B, and you don't really scrim too much within your own group. Is that gonna kind of influence the matchups that you go on, like mind game further, since you have like a lot of history? For example, when you guys play the Unicorns, do you think the scrims are gonna play in, or is the meta evolving too much from week to week?
I think the meta is evolving too much week to week, but at the same time, I haven't really felt like we've been scrimming Group B more than Group A, actually. I think we've had quite some scrims with both Misfits and G2, and it's not necessarily that you're just scrimming people from Group B, because after all, most of the time you only have one game a week, so there's at least three teams in your group that you're able to scrim.
Well, coming up next week, I feel like one matchup that we're kind of dancing around is the matchup between Vitality and Fnatic. And I don't want to put you guys too much on the spot here, but I just want general thoughts on feelings on how...
That's
how
dirty, Dracos.
I don't want them to fight each other. I just want to know how they're feeling. Because, I mean, we bring it together. They're going to fight. We can dance around it all we want, but it's going to happen. It's happening on Friday. Let's go to Reckless first. How are you feeling about the matchup? And what are your opinions on Vitality?
I think it's really hard to tell because we're struggling so much ourselves, but at the same time, Vitality is probably a team that struggles even more. So
Fair.
It should be a game that we go home with a win, but at the same time, as I said, you never really know because so much can change in a week, and the meta is going to change as well. Maybe it fits them better, or maybe it fits us better. Can't really tell, but definitely both teams are looking like they have a lot of mistakes to fix.
All right, Cabo, thoughts on Fnatic?
Yeah, I think we're just gonna prepare some Soraka counters and we're gonna be fine. The 2-0 is gonna kick in then.
I guess good to
Make
keep
sure
it
you pick
brief.
Ignite. Just in
Okay.
case.
Succinct,
Ignite on both.
succinct strategy coming in from Cabo and all of Vitality, it appears on the...
I think it makes sense. If you pick Ignite on Chani, so when he goes down, he can actually take one guy with him, and then it's a one-for-one trade. I think it's worth
Oh
it.
yeah, you're bringing up something.
Coaching Vitality right here.
All right. Well, don't get too biased. We're gonna have to give Fnatic some advice later too. So we keep
I've already criticized their
even.
draft enough.
Okay,
I'm done before these players hate me.
All right. Well, tomorrow the European Challenger Series will kick off for the year, and Stress is going to give us a quick rundown of the teams and what we can expect.
Thank you very much, Dracos, and hopefully ease some of the tension on the desk there. That was getting spicy for a moment. And you are correct, Dracos. Tomorrow is the start of the European Challenger Series, and this is the most hype Challenger Series I think we've ever had, especially here in Europe. And I think the best way of illustrating just how hype it is by breaking some of the rosters down, giving you a few key players to watch. And let's start with Reckless's potential teammates, or at least sister team in Fnatic Academy here. We've highlighted a very, very familiar name. Mr. Rales, a mainstay in the European LCS, actually has never played a game in Challenger Series despite qualifying through CSQ twice. So he joins Kikis, who obviously has a pedigree of going through Challenger himself as well, and the rest of Fnatic Academy in what is sure to be a very strong team coming into the spring split of Challenger. Another team that qualified through CSQ is Team Kinguin. Their AD carry Woolite used to be a mainstay in the EU LCS and has really been putting out performances here and there in Challenger over the last few splits. It's an all-Polish lineup, so they're sure to have a lot of support from their fan base, and we're excited to see what this lineup can do because there is a lot of tough competition in EUCS. And one of the teams that they're going to be competing with that has also been in Challenger for a while is Millennium. The French organization returns to EUCS with an unchanged mid laner, but a fairly different roster everywhere else. We've highlighted Pretty because he has been a key player for Millennium over the last few splits. And while a lot of his teammates have gone on to have a lot of success in the LCS, Pretty still finds himself here, now surrounded by a lot of good players. We'll see whether his Anivia comes out as he's followed in Froggen's footsteps time and time again with that synonymous pick for himself. Speaking of success in the LCS, Misfits moved up to the LCS last split, and Misfits Academy have joined the Challenger Series. Their support Dreams actually split games with Ignar in the last split and had a pretty good Bard when we saw him playing in the summer split of 2016. Interested to see whether Dreams Bard is at the same level and how he compare with Yuki 60, who has been around Challenger for a couple of years himself. Misfits Academy, certainly a team to watch. Everybody's eyes for European Challenger on the last two teams, though. Some of the biggest names we have ever had, even in the European esports scene here for League of Legends. Paris Saint-Germain wade into the scene with one of the most scaring, frightful lineups we have ever seen in Challenger Series. This guy right here, Pilot, comes almost straight out of the LCK and is even placed 4th in LCK playoffs. One of the only players to have a win over SKT in a game in a World Championship year. This guy is the real deal. And with the rest of the lineup, some European mainstays, PSG are a real force to be reckoned with, and everybody is expecting them to be in the promotion tournament come the end of the split. The other team everybody is predicting, the other traditional sports organization, the other football team, Schalke 04. We had them in the LCS last split. They dropped down into Challenger and revamp their roster. We've again highlighted as support. It's a European mainstay. Vander joined the lineup. His last series was in the World Semi-Finals this past year. He comes straight off that hot H2K run right into Challenger, along with a lot of other familiar faces. The team lineups are hype, the matchups are hype. Tomorrow we're going to be bringing you Kinguin versus Schalke, PSG versus Fnatic Academy, and Misfits Academy versus Millennium. It all kicks off at 3 p.m. Central European time tomorrow. Vedius and Medic are going to be bringing you all of the action, and this season is going to be a real interesting Challenger Series, Dracos.
I mean, I'm ready. We got a lot of clubs investing. We got a lot of strong talent lineups now. I know you guys are almost entirely focused on LCS for the most part, but I'm curious, since Fnatic Academy is sort of that sister team, Reckless, what are your thoughts on the Challenger Series teams that we're seeing? Do you feel like they're getting stronger and stronger as the years go on?
Actually, I think our Challenger Series team right now is stronger than our main team. We've been scrimming them quite a bit, and we're also working together in an office, so we're not necessarily sharing room, but we're in the same workspace and talking to each other daily. And I've watched some of their scrims, and I think, generally speaking, they're super solid, and they've played with each other for quite a while now. So they definitely have a shot at making it far. But at the same time, with PSG and Schalke in there, I don't really know if they'll make it all the way.
You're talking about your kind of sub-team here as they're a unit and you guys are a unit, but yeah. I feel initially the announcement was a 10-man roster from Fnatic. Is it too early to see potential like swaps come out or just testers in LCS and not? Or is that just going to disrupt maybe too much building?
I think the fact that they're playing right now is probably going to hinder potential swaps, but it's not something we have ruled out at all, and it's not something we have even talked about, actually. I think it's much more a question of time and just like us getting comfortable and them getting comfortable, then potentially doing swaps by swaps. But I think all 10 players are really talented in their own ways, so it's definitely something we can look into for the future.
Well, in a similar vein to Vitality, Kaba, you guys do have GBM kind of sitting, waiting in the wings, and I'm curious if we'll see him come in, if you guys plan to kind of mix and match him between Joko and Series, or if we're going to see him anytime soon.
I mean, for now, I don't think it's the plan, but it's not something as well we ruled out, so time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah, good to see. Maybe we'll see him come in, maybe not. Joko has been having some pretty solid performances going back and forth.
I haven't watched too much Challenger footage or CSQ, but what I did enjoy was the parody videos that Team Kinglin is producing. Like Schalke is investing like super hard in like really professional videos, and Kinglin is kind of just trolling them by just making the low budget versions. So I like personality, I like sass, because I think it's really hard for players to get noticed in Challenger very often. They need to play either extremely well. So I like that some of these orgs are either upping the production, like Schalke, or just making a name for themselves with whatever means they have, as in Kinglin.
you know, finding some humor in it. Good to see.
Yeah.
I like the mix-up. I like the funny videos. G2, of course, came out with one last year for LCS. Good to see more teams kind of investing either in very professional video production or you know,
Just
trolling a little bit. Yeah, having fun with it overall. Making a joke. Last year was G2 at our expense, even from some of our promos. So.
Oh yeah, we don't talk about it anymore.
Good to see, of course. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Reckless, Cabo, coming in for the whole day, and Crepo as well.
You're welcome.
I don't really know why I'm thanking you.
Do it anyway.
You're here.
Say it
This is
again.
your job. Well, thank you, Crepo.
Time to toss.
You happy? Are you ready? All right. Well, the European LCS will continue next week with Giants versus Unicorns of Love. But in the meantime, that's going to do it for us for here on PGL. That concludes it for week 3. We'll be back next Thursday at 5 p.m. Central European time for more EU LCS action, and we'll see you then.
That was fun.
Over from Trashy, and this will be the ace. Kill secured by Wonder. Trashy is already jumping in on the squishies. Tabs and Heaver, they've been opened up on. Stand United will deliver tabs to Wonder's hands.
We need to call this, like, that they're doing this. No information. Just call, please.
Kobe goes over the wall. Tabs is doing well. All of that passive attack speed stacking. Messy fight. And it ends with Splice acing Origin.
The Splice, they bounce back, they take the 2-0, and that's exactly what they needed to do, and it was clean enough for them to be happy.
1, 2, 3, Splice!
See, they dive onto Faxi. He knows something is up. Will he be able to get away? He's got his flash, but he's in the ultimatum right now. Blocking damage, they flash in. Reckless throws down the chains of corruption, and it's gonna be Caps. That follows through. Put in room prison, but he's gonna hop forward for an ultimatum. Betsy can't go anywhere. So as Twisted advances on, he's gonna flash, but it may just be too late. And Caps with a rampage kill.
And now the depth charge is coming. He already takes a lot, so as flashing forward. The moment of poor positioning. Oh my god. Piercing arrow comes in. Maxwell taking a lot of jump damage. In the redemption, he gets out. Reckless is caught and sniped down.
My bad.
And there's nothing Fnatic can do. They're trying, but it is just not enough. ROCCAT with the win on the board. It's got flash. He might have to use it. He does. Faxi, he's trying to bait this one out. The 1v1. Soaz with the boomerang.
Oh no.
Goodbye.
Fnatic looking to continue the push. They're going to get the inhibitor towers. A lot of this.
And Foxy is dead. He's gone. Nowhere to go right now as he's locked up. Fnatic on top of it. They fire back. They're going to take this one. ROCCAT, it was a chance for them, but it just was not enough. Fnatic will finish this 2-1. Heading into cross-group play. GG, boys. That's it.